Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into the world of digital detectives, following these hidden breadcrumbs of data that can solve crimes and ultimately uncover the truth. Let's get into it. Think about that for a second. It completely changes the game of an investigation, right? Every single click, every file, every deleted message can be a clue. The crime scene isn't measured in square feet anymore. It's measured in gigabytes. And the detectives? Well, they need a whole new set of tools. So, who are these digital detectives, really? Let's kick things off by exploring what they actually do and why their work has become so incredibly critical in our modern world. At its core, this is what we're talking about. Computer forensics isn't just about finding data. It's about finding it, making sense of it, and then, and this is the most important part, making sure it can stand up to the intense scrutiny of the legal system. Everything they do has to be defensible in court. So this really breaks down their mission. You can think of them as digital archaeologists, piecing together a whole story from tiny fragments. They dig up what someone tried to hide, they reconstruct a timeline of events, and then they have to present those facts without any bias. And the end goals, well, they're pretty simple. Hold the bad guys accountable and figure out how to stop it from happening all over again. Now, before a single file gets analyzed, there is one step that is absolutely 100% non-negotiable: preserving the evidence. This is the foundation of the entire case. You make one wrong move here, and the whole investigation could just fall apart. This right here is the golden rule. It is the prime directive of digital forensics. You cannot, I repeat, cannot change the original evidence. Not one bit. Everything an investigator does from this point on is designed to protect the integrity of that original hard drive or device. And this is exactly how they stick to that rule. It's this super careful, step-by-step dance. And notice something really important here. They never actually work on the original evidence. First, they create a perfect bit-for-bit copy, that's the bitstream image, and then they verify that the copy is absolutely identical. Only then, once the original is locked away safely, does the real analysis begin. And here we can see that core principle in action. This software is creating what's called a forensic image of a drive. It's duplicating every single 1 and 0 over to a new file. This image file is what the detective will spend all their time investigating, making absolutely sure that the original drive stays pristine and untouched. Okay, so with a perfect copy secured, we can finally step inside the forensic lab. This is where the real digging begins. We're talking about using incredibly powerful software to sift through potentially millions of files to find that one digital smoking gun. Just think for a second about everything on your own computer: documents, photos, your web history, and literally thousands of system files you don't even know exist. An investigator has to look through all of it. They're even searching in the empty spaces on the drive, what's called slack space, because that's where fragments of a threatening email or a deleted social media chat log can still be found, long after a user thought they were gone for good. Now, what's really cool here is that we're seeing one of these powerful tools, Forensic Toolkit, actually in action. It does way more than just find keywords. It can reassemble deleted emails. But here's the crucial part. It allows an investigator to examine the email's header. Think of the header like a digital postmark. It reveals every single server the email bounced through. That is key to tracing its true origin, not just the fake name someone put in the from line. Sometimes, though, you have to go even deeper. A tool like Hex Workshop is basically like looking at a file's DNA. This is absolutely essential for things like social media forensics on mobile devices. An investigator can look directly at a chat app's database file and find deleted messages or location data that are completely invisible when you're just looking at the app. It's how they find evidence that someone tried to hide just by changing a file's name. And what about crimes that happen live, on the network? Say, a threatening email campaign or a hacked social media account. Well, that's a whole different kind of crime scene. For that, investigators need network forensic tools, like the ones you find in the Backtrack suite. They use these to analyze server logs to pinpoint when a malicious email was sent, or to trace an IP address from a sketchy login all the way back across the internet to its source. Okay, this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's the question that every single defense attorney is guaranteed to ask. With all this copying and analyzing, how can anyone be 100% sure that the evidence they're showing in court is exactly what was on the original drive, with nothing added or taken away? The answer is math, specifically a process called hashing. A hash algorithm can be run on any piece of digital data, a single file, or an entire drive image, and it spits out a unique alphanumeric string. It's like a digital fingerprint. And here's the magic. If even a single bit of data is changed, that hash value, that fingerprint, changes completely. So by hashing the original drive and the forensic copy, an investigator can mathematically prove they are identical. It's airtight. All right, this brings us to the final act. The data has been found, the analysis is complete, the evidence has been verified. Now, it's time to take all these digital findings and present them in a way that a judge and jury can actually understand in a court of law. You know, all this technical wizardry doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's all guided by a framework of actual laws that define what counts as a computer crime. Everything from fraud and hacking to things like online stalking and piracy, these statutes are what provide the legal basis to actually prosecute someone. And this is so crucial. The evidence is only as good as the expert who presents it. It's not enough to just run the software. An investigator has to be able to clearly and simply explain every single step they took and then defend their findings against some really intense questioning. Their personal credibility is every bit as important as the data itself. Ultimately, the entire process gets wrapped up in a final, incredibly detailed report. This document creates what's called the chain of evidence, or chain of custody. It meticulously logs who handled the evidence, when they handled it, and exactly what they did with it. This documentation is the final proof that the evidence shown in court is the exact same evidence seized at the very beginning of the investigation. And that brings us to the end. It really leaves us with a pretty compelling thought, doesn't it? Our lives are increasingly stored on hard drives, on phones, and in the cloud. Deleted doesn't always mean gone, and every action we take can leave a trace. And in the hands of a digital detective, those tiny traces can tell a very powerful story.